Just give me liberty or give me death.
This is Kevin O'Neill from Turn to Liberty. We're going to start this little walk through Tampa with the location where the President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, spoke here in Tampa. Right here at the criminal courthouse in Tampa. Twig Street's nearby. Give you the quick kind of slow pan where we're at here. Of course, we got the Confederate monument right down there. We'll go take a closer look. Give you a little more detail. That blue building there is Tampa Police Department downtown. You're probably familiar with the Bank of America building. It's like the tallest one here. And of course, the county building here in Tampa. Hillsborough Board of County Commissioners. So from the standing spot of John F. Kennedy to a memorial for dead soldiers defending this land and were defeated by states of the North for a lot of different reasons, but nonetheless, prior planning prevents piss poor performance, no doubt about it. Not the most offensive set of statuary I've ever seen. Of course, you know, the Florida flag still has the bars, doesn't have the stars, and I guess I'll try to read this to you. To the honor and courage of the patriots of the Confederate States of America, this monument is dedicated by Tampa Chapter number 113 UDC and the citizens of Tampa, January 2011. Memorial in Interna, which is probably Latin for internment or something like that. So here you go. Turn to Liberty on location here in Tampa. Apparently this is so offensive that Les Miller, our county commissioner, wants to have it yanked out of the ground. I know there's some alternative motions to be heard for decisions about not removing any war memorials here in Hillsborough County. And, you know, I'll just say right for the record, I consider Les Miller to be in league with the Socialist Marxists. This would be any splinter group, Black Lives Matters, Council on Islamic American Relations, any place where they're splitting us into little boxes and little subgroups, and they're running subgroups against other groups. These are tactics designed by the socialists, the communists, the Marxists to destroy society, and this is ground zero for that effort. We'll take a walk down to the county building. We're actually going to keep this streaming live because I believe we're going to walk in and find 50 people hanging out. We'll see if anyone wants to do the old back shot here on the way out. Hillsborough County. With Turn to Liberty, it's basically a blog. It's a liberty-focused group. Yeah, that's pretty much the answer, sir. Veterans for peace. Amen to that.
And you're saying the racism isn't here?
I was asking her.
Well,
yeah.
You should have been in there to see.
And this, like I said, I could be blind to this, but
ask any one of these people here of color whether or not the racism is alive and well.
We're gonna. Is there anything going on inside? I'm gonna shoot back out this way if you want to talk in a few minutes.
Well, hey, any of you want to talk to him?
No problem, guys. All right, so I'm Kevin O'Neill, Turn to Liberty. You click your Mark Greenfeld? Clutho. Nice to meet you, sir. David, I can never pronounce your last name. Laudermelch. And we just happen to be libertarians, but I'm representing Turn to Liberty, a streaming media channel.
You spelled my name right. Thank you. I'm not stupid like you. Thank you, Clutho. I appreciate it. Side B. Side B. Okay, side B. All right. Let me see side A. Let me get a good shot.
So we got some action here in front of the courthouse.
There you go.
Hey, I'm well. I just walked up. Was there a vote? Did it take place? How did it go?
4-3. I was on the losing. 4-3. I was on the losing side, but I think it may come back again.
This is Pat Kemp, if I didn't say already, county commissioner, and congratulations for winning. And
Thank you.
It was only a few months back.
Yeah.
So I don't know what side you were on. Do you want to explain maybe your vote?
I was on the side of removing. And, you know, I learned a lot about history, a lot of that history, this history in the last few weeks. I had mentioned up there that I have ancestors that fought on the Confederate side and that my grandmother was a daughter of the Confederacy. But I learned a lot in the last few weeks about the history, in particular, about this monument and when it was erected, the kinds of sentiments and comments that were made by the state attorney on the courthouse grounds, the other courthouse.
Back in 1911?
Yeah, in 1911.
Okay.
You know, talking about an inferior race.
Ooh, wow.
And in the sentiments of the times. And I think that that's important. Our courthouse grounds are a symbol of justice. And I think we need to be moving this monument to another place.
So words matter. Those are definitely, you know, clearly racist commentary from apparently our state attorney. State attorney?
State attorney.
Yeah, and I don't know if that guy or girl was the one placing the monument, but obviously
Keynote speaker at the day.
He what?
Keynote speaker.
Keynote speaker. Yeah. So obviously those folks were pretty fired up on the racist category.
Yes. Well,
without a doubt.
Yes.
From what you just said.
Most definitely.
I haven't looked into this yet,
Right.
but I appreciate that you did some homework on this for sure.
Sure.
So here we are in 2017. I'm not really feeling that much of a racist thing anymore, or maybe I'm blind to it. But I mean, I have to believe you imagine the society has moved, you know, a century forward.
That's right.
And you know, it still has the norms and the beliefs. I mean, you must. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
yes.
Do you feel like it's a different time, different place?
Well, certainly it is, but
inclusive?
it's definitely. I mean, I didn't live back then, so I can't.
Yeah.
But it's a way different time than it was when I was a child. But that statue, that monument there, I think holds us back. And no one's talking about destroying it. We're talking about moving it to another place where it's more appropriate, not on the courthouse grounds.
Was that the courthouse before? I don't even know if it was.
It is still.
I mean, like in 1911? I just
No,
don't know.
actually there was a courthouse. It's actually been moved once. There was a courthouse over where the police station is, a beautiful courthouse that was destroyed, but this monument was moved.
Okay, so it was on the courthouse originally, and then they stuck it back on the courthouse the second time.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So, I think I heard Leslie White or Stacy White, I forget the gentleman's name.
Stacy White.
Wants to do a preserve all war memorials and don't move them.
Yes, that's correct.
Motion, I think is probably the right word.
Right.
Did that get voted up to or put up today to be heard, or did
Yes.
that get voted on?
I guess there's a draft to bring that forward. I think. What was said today was to keep this with some kind of art behind it. So I guess we'll go forward with that. But I only have a few minutes. I have to go back to the meeting.
I appreciate your time very much, Pat Kemp, and thanks for your service. Thank you. David, you interested in doing a on the sidewalk interview with some folks from Turn to Liberty? Would you be
Turn to Liberty. What's Turn to Liberty do?
We're a blogging channel, fairly new. Just 1 second, sir.
Traitors, secessionists.
We are streaming live.
Okay.
And Turn to Liberty is basically an activist group trying to turn people on to liberty. We meet pretty much every Tuesday in Brandon at the Windmill Tap House, which is at Kings Avenue and 60. So we got David McAllister here. I'm reading your son of Confederate veterans.
Yes. But my primary organization with regard to this is the Save Southern Heritage, which is a 501c4 corporation involved in Southern Heritage defense and promotion. And this is one of the things that we do is stand up for the memorials that have been made in the past. We've been involved, as a if you're all involved in the Liberty organization, you know that there's different things that different groups can do.
Exactly.
Sons of Confederate Veterans is a 501c3, so it doesn't do...
Educational?
Educational.
Yes.
Eleemosynary.
What's that?
Eleemosynary.
Eleemosynary. Is that Latin for educational?
Pretty much.
I apologize.
It's a word recognized by the IRS.
The Catholics didn't raise me, so a little light on Latin.
Well, that was out of law school, so I'm sorry.
You advantaged me already. So I just talked to Pat Kemp out here.
Oh, did you?
I did. Luckily, we just walked up. We are active citizens. We're trying to learn all we can. So I understand the vote to move did not pass, so the monument stands where it is.
Yes.
I don't know if there was a bunch of other votes going on. How do you feel about the outcome, or what do you think the highlights
I'm
were?
very happy. I think it was a good compromise. I know Victor Crist really loves compromise, and consensus. What actually passed was a vote to protect all veterans' monuments, specifically including this monument. So that's what.
Wow, great.
That's what that's what passed.
Wow.
And then there's going to be context added that Victor Crist wanted to have with this mural that will be on the wall behind the monument. Now, what that's going to look like, I don't know. I hope that we'll have some input into that, because one of the people I'd like to quote is James Tokley. He's the poet laureate of Hillsborough County in Tampa.
Maybe you've seen him speak.
Probably you have. And he speaks of the sweet diversity of our ancestral South. And I think that's something that should be on the mural.
Maybe he's got a poem of note that we can.
Well, he does. Well, that's from a poem of his. I don't know. I don't have the whole line memorized, but I have that line memorized.
That's good.
And we are. I think the commission did recognize that we are part of the diversity of Hillsborough County, and it would be hypocritical and intellectually, hypocritical not to recognize that we are part of the diversity, and this monument that's been part of the civic landscape for 100 years needs to stay. Now, it can be contextualized, there can be other monuments, but it needs to stay where it is. Basically, it was put up by the wives and mothers and sisters and daughters of the veterans, many of whom did not come back. And to remove it is a slap in the face of what we would now call today Gold Star mothers.
Exactly. Now we got Pat Kemp. So we have Pat Kemp with us, one of the county commissioners. You guys know how the vote shook out up there?
Yeah, okay.
Not really sure at the moment.
Okay. Not sure either. Let's talk to Pat Kemp, see if we can get a comment from her.
Well, you see, what all veterans recognize is that this is just the first, low-hanging fruit.
Exactly.
If this monument goes, there's a mirror image of a World War II monument. When those veterans die off, there'll be criticism of World War II, and every single one of them will have dropped an atomic bomb and be an evil person, like they're trying to say that every single, Confederate soldier was some sort of awful slave owner or something like that. It's not true. But people that were in the Vietnam War especially know what it's like to have fought in an unpopular war. So they have empathy for the Confederate veterans.
So conscription, right? Revolutionary War, many, probably half were conscripts,
right.
Taken from the front porches,
right.
dragged off to join a army of sorts.
That's true.
So, half of them we could basically say really didn't have a choice in the matter. They were treated like, chattel. Treated like slaves.
Well, that's what governments do. They if they want to fight a war, they need to have bodies.
They sure do.
There is a first round of volunteers, and there were people that were in the militia. In the Sunny South Guard was a local group, about 100 men, and they all signed up for Florida, and they were put into a Florida regiment. It really was a war between the states. It was not the CSA Army. It was the 5th Florida versus the 20th Massachusetts and things like that. So they were recognized by their states. Now, when Lincoln called up 75,000 soldiers from all the states, and there was only the lower tier had seceded by that point. This was after Sumter. Called up 75,000 men. I force you states to give me men to be in my army, because the army was very small at that time at the beginning of the war. Many states said, we're not sending anybody. Number one, and number two, we, Virginia, North Carolina, we're seceding ourselves, because we're not going to send men to go attack South Carolina, our fellow southern states. Now, and Tennessee and Kentucky and Missouri, the same thing. Kentucky and Missouri were split, very much civil war amongst that state. But the others, it was really a war between the states. Lincoln's calling up the 75,000 men was completely unconstitutional, illegal. The United States Supreme Court, I believe, said so. And he did other things like the removal of the habeas corpus, and he jailed journalists, about 13,000 of them, and destroyed something like 10,000 presses because they were opposed to him. Things I don't think we would put up with that today. If you're interested in liberty,
so
right?
Instead of book burning, he did press burning.
He did press burning because he couldn't stand anybody opposing him. He even had the man from Ohio exiled because he opposed. The war was a bad thing. He wouldn't countenance anything against it. Very much changing the Constitution of the United States.
It's a guess.
Hey there, Jim.
fellow brethren walking. If you got a minute, you good for on the street interview, sir?
I have.
Could you identify yourself again, because it might not have picked up?
My name is H.K. Edgerton.
Welcome to Tampa, Florida. What brought you down here to Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners today?
The issue of removing the Confederate Soldiers Monument. It's not my first rodeo in Tampa, but certainly had to be here today for that. And I am so very proud of Commissioner Crist and Commissioner White for orchestrating a compromise in not doing so. I think it was brilliant. A lot of things I don't agree with in terms of equating the other monuments in a different light, because the other monuments are just as important and just as honorable as the one that sits here. Certainly, the idea of the lady commissioner to teach a curriculum in the public school system, I think that is highly important. And I hope that the real other side of history is told. Just one side of history leads us to where we are today. I heard all the crying about racism and prejudice and all these other things. And it just kind of hurts you to know that there's so many misinformed people sitting in that room. The black folks, if you just want to talk about slavery, they have no idea what took place here in the Southland of America.
Shocking, huh?
It is.
All the money we spend on education, and they're totally in the dark.
Absolutely. See, that's the key issue. They are totally in the dark. And I believe in my heart, I know in my heart, if you put both sides of this on the table, let both sides tell their story, many of these folks up in here today will be so sorry of the comments that they made. And starting right with Commissioner Miller. Man, my Lord, what a bigot this man is.
Really bigot? Wow.
He is a bigot.
I think Les Miller, I challenged him to a debate about a couple weeks back.
You won't do it.
Probably won't. Yeah, Kevin from Turn to Liberty. And I think you described him as a bigot. I was describing him as going after a low-lying fruit constituency of the uneducated. Mm-hmm. I actually see Les Miller as basically starting a fire that's more in line with a riot and a civil war now than I see him being a balanced elected official who's going to move us forward and help people come together. I see him literally tearing this community apart. This could have gone real bad today. This could have been gunfire. There could have been, SWAT teams down here. There could have been dead people on the sidewalk. Because he's going for a low-lying fruit. He's going for a re-election. I think he's in a district now, and he's going county-wide. And you would think this would be like the opposite strategy that a politician would want to pursue.
Especially in this county with so many veterans.
Yeah.
I mean, he's clearly on the anti-veteran side.
Veterans of the Confederacy.
Mr. McAllister and his wife had the opportunity to attend his church. Matter of fact, this week.
Les Miller's or Mr. McAllister?
Les
Miller's church. Okay.
What a loving church. What a loving pastor of that church. They welcome us in, and I had on my battle flag tie, and they know who I am, but yet still they embraced us in love. And then to be confronted with a man like Mr. Miller, who has such a personal grudge and hatred in his heart, and he had the opportunity to educate people and bring people together. Up in that room today.
Exactly. It's a lead.
To lead, and he just discarded that, threw it out the window. I don't want to do that. That monument just has to go. Well, sir, you have an opportunity to. You're a Southerner. That's number one.
Is he from the South? I
Yes,
think
to teach. Well, you don't act like he's from the South. To teach these babies that's up in this room and these people the other side of the story. Tell them the truth. All he wanted was to orchestrate hate. Hate.
That's what we're selling down here at the county board of county commissioners. It's hate.
I love those commissioners, the four that voted. No, we're not going to do that. For me, it says volumes for them. I love them to all ends. Just
we'll pray for all 7 of them, I guess, right?
Absolutely.
We'll pray for all 7
Absolutely.
of them.
And I hope that Commissioner Miller will take out the time to come and talk to the other side. I'm so very proud of Andrew Young. I remember when he was booted because of the fact talk to Arapat. And I love Jimmy Carter for saying, no, I'm not going to get rid of him because he did what you have to do. Sometimes you have to.
Is it Arafat?
Yes.
From Palestinian organizations?
Yes. They denounced Andrew Young for doing so. I had the opportunity to break bread with Andrew Young, and I asked him the very question about the flag. What he said to Fox News last night was no secret to me, and he told me that.
I'm not familiar with Andrew Young, I apologize.
From Andrew Young was Martin Luther King's right-hand man.
Okay. Thank you for putting some context for me.
Mm-hmm. And he simply said that Dr. King said when asked to attack the flag, leave it alone. Let's do something about the things we can do something about. Our babies standing there on the corner with the pants hanging down, dealing dope, can't vote, vertical mobility for women in the job place. Leave the flag alone. If you attack that flag, the dream that King had, that one day our sons are former slaves, the sons of former slaves all sit down at the table of brotherhood, there'll be no brotherhood. You just lay those the chair on the table. And that's the whole issue, the whole thing. And then over here to call the Confederate Monument a racist monument. Excuse me, you got the wrong monument. You better get to the Union Monument as fast as you can, because the Confederate Soldiers Monument it was an integrated army. Red, yellow, black, white, brown. That's who those women erected that monument to. They didn't distinguish between black and white. But certainly, if you want to talk about, if you're going to make slavery the issue and make prejudice and racism the issue, you better take yourself to Washington, D.C. and tear down the Lincoln Monument first.
I've heard this argument. Abraham Lincoln said a lot of disparaging things about race.
Real disparaging things. You talk about a man named Phillips who came out here and made some kind of off-the-wall statement at that time. But I believe I know what was in Miller's mind. He was thinking about how those black folks got duped into putting folks like Ulysses S. Grant into office. They went over to the Freedmen's Bureau with brown paper bags, didn't even know what a vote was. Here you are voting for the same man who came to the South End of America with an order from Abraham Lincoln to take the theater of war to the innocent old men, women, and children, and he certainly didn't put crosses on black folks' door and say, don't do it to them. They terrorized the South End of America, total warfare. Right down in Mississippi, Ulysses Grant burned 42 cities, and his presidential library is at Mississippi State. That's sacrilege to me. If you want to talk about taking something down, take that down. If you want to talk about the state of God, go down to a
Where does it end? How many gravestones we got to flip over here? You know, we're gonna start segregating graveyards and stuff. I mean, this is crazy talk up here.
It is crazy talk. We may well wipe out America and begin again to get rid of the stars and stripes. Let's go again, because boys and girls, if you start bringing history on the table and define it in the terms you're all trying to define it in, we need to start over. And you know what made me the angriest up in that room today? Two Spanish-speaking folks sitting right over there, championing the movement of this monument, talking as crazy as they can about racism and prejudice. 400 years before slavery was even introduced into the American colonies, the Spanish raped the continent of Africa. The number of slaves that they took out of Africa, I am surprised that there's even an African left to even come to the American colony. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. You have no right to be standing here talking about.
Did you get on the mic today?
Yes. Huh?
Were you on the mic today? Did you speak?
I did, but I brought a film of Andrew Young saying the same thing I'm saying you today. And he said, the flag is not the issue. If Black Lives Matter, then you better go into the black community and tell them to quit killing each other if Black Lives really matter.
Raising your families correctly, teaching them right and wrong.
I love you.
I love you, sir. Thanks for coming down. Thanks for helping preventing a riot down here.
God bless you.
Thanks for adding sanity
let's go for liberty.
www.southernheritage411.com. And I'm sorry I gave out a business card.
I
tried to blame it on Mr.
You can email me back. You got my business card. So, gentlemen, thanks for the hard work. Appreciate it. All right, hey guys, that's pretty much, I guess, the wrap up. We probably missed a lot of the fireworks, but it was a 4-3 vote not to move the monument. There was an additional vote to protect military monuments in general in Hillsborough County. Didn't read it yet, but pretty much along the lines of don't relocate them. And we are showing up here a little bit late, but we caught a lot of headliners here on the front steps of the county building. So this is Kevin O'Neill from Turn to Liberty. If you want to get more of this, join our list. You can go to our website, turn2liberty.com. It's turn2liberty.com. And we'll stay in touch with you through email. And we appreciate you guys jumping in and listening. Thanks.